SHOT Show 2023, and I have stumbled into someone who goes back in my personal history, even though we didn't know each other at the time. It goes back into my personal history when I was picking up a tritium vial wristwatch, and I was given quite a hard time by some of my guys, like, why would you want that? And all of that said, Barry of ProTech Watches, or ProTech, just ProTech itself. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
Yes, you are. You're looking very good. Yeah. So listen, you were a big part of bringing Luminox to the public forum and basically bringing it in. You were the one who did it. And just tell me your story. How did you get started, and what brought you into it, and what was your focal point, and what made you believe in the tritium vial wristwatch world?
Okay, it's a pretty simple question, and here's a simple response. I had been in the watch category. I was carrying mostly watches and sunglasses, enjoyed selling watches. I happen to have an affinity or love for them since I was a little kid. And when I caught wind of this self-powered illumination technology, I thought to myself, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it be enabling if we put this into watches and sold this to the consumer arena? The technology had existed before me, and there were a couple of relatively small brands selling primarily to the military, but my thinking was, let's bring it to the consumer world, and that was the advent of Luminox. So we founded Luminox in 1989 and started building watches and telling the story about here's day, here's night, and here's our story.
Well, the compelling thing for me was, we've seen it in my world. It's in sights, night sights.
Correct.
Ever since I was, very early on.
A long time.
So my affinity to it was, wow, this is like what we've got on weapon systems, and what drew me to it.
And it's exactly the same technology. And so we brought this to market. And, luck plays a role in life, good or bad. And my first partner and I were sitting at a trade show. It was an outdoor retailer show. And a gentleman from the Navy SEALs happens upon us and tells us, if you'd make a watch for us, we'd buy some. And then you could go tell the world you made the watch for Navy SEALs. And that was really the stamp of credibility that helped put Luminox on the map. In fact, some of the accounts we later worked with started to just call it a Navy SEAL watch, and we had to kind of fight that because we were trying to build a brand.
Right.
And so we ultimately had to say to people, look, you could say the Navy SEAL watch, but you got to mention Luminox.
Right.
And then over time, at first it was Navy SEAL who was more important, and Luminox was down here, and over time that switched, and the brand became a very strong brand.
About how many years did it take for that to occur?
Well, we launched that watch in 1993, and I would say by 2000 we were already starting to sell numerous other countries aside from America. But in America, at that point, we were selling accounts like LL Bean and Eddie Bauer and Hammaker Schlemmer and Brookstone, an account that I don't really see around anymore, because we were in a lot of mail order catalogs in those days. And that benefited us because we could show day, show night, and tell story. And in a retail store, in most retail stores, no matter how poorly lit it might be, it's not dark enough to see the virtue of this self-powered lumen.
Right.
So that's how we got...
Hence the UV lights that you need to use to...
So that's how we got the awareness going through the vehicles of mail order catalogs. And then two accounts really championed the brand. One was Cabela's, in which we became a very strong brand for them, with a very large percentage of the watch business. And the other was a Sharper Image, which was toys for big boys.
Yeah, I remember those.
And Richard Thalheimer was the CEO and founder, and brought it in, and his words were, I like this phrase, by the way, let's bring it in, and then let's see how high is up. And up turned out to be fairly high.
That's good. About how many wristwatches, I'll just say watches, how many watches were you producing / selling, putting into the market by, say, 2000, if you have a number?
I can't remember specifics by year, but I can tell you that over the course of years, we sold close to 2 million watches. So,
from late 80s to about when? From,
say, 90-something on through, we started shipping in spring of 90, and then up till, I left in 2016. So okay. I sold my shares in the company in 2016 and decided to I had another company called Time Concepts that I started for the purpose of helping other people develop watches. We'd be at trade shows, people would say to me, you know watches, would you make one for me? And so that made me think I need a platform to do this. Started something called Time Concepts, aptly named, Watch Concepts.
Yeah.
And we started to develop watches for a number of companies or do design development. We supplied watches to Lawrence, to Cabela's, to Eddie Bauer, to...
Kind of like the proverbial guy behind the curtain.
Kind of that way.
Yeah.
And then, so again, I left at 16. I've been doing other watches. The Hawaiian Lifeguard Association came to me. They said, make our official watches. We do that. And these guys, by the way, are, don't think about a country club lifeguard. Think about ocean rescue experts there. Some of these guys are actually training U.S. Special Forces and
Navy
SEALs.
And Coast Guard, too. I mean,
they're experts. In fact, we had a guy here the other day, a SEAL from Virginia, and I happened to mention that to him. He goes, oh, yeah, I sent guys there. I know you're telling the truth. I sent guys there.
There you go.
So they're the real. They developed the lifeguarding protocols for ocean lifeguarding that are used all over the world today. So that's something else we did. But, after a few years of being out of what I'm going to refer to as my lane, I decided to, I kind of said to myself, maybe I should give it one more shot and do it again.
So when did you kick off ProTech?
Well, we started developing the concept in November of 21, and we launched some product in really handmade cobbled together samples at last year's SHOT Show. We started shipping that product last summer of 22, and now more has happened that is going to help our brand. When I was working Luminox, we had the Navy story going, and the Marines approached us and said, would you like to work with us as well and create a Marines watch? And at the moment, I thought it might dilute the Navy message, so we passed on it. Respectfully, because I certainly respect the Marines, respect all branches of the armed services, and all law enforcement. So the relationship existed, and there was a phone call back in, I'm going to say February or March of 22, where the gentleman who helped put the Marines program together said, I understand you're doing tritium tactical watches again. And I said, yes, that's true. And a very nice quote that I'm actually very flattered by was, he said, if you're doing it, we want it. And I extremely flattered by such a comment. So we worked out the program, and we are now official watch of the United States Marines.
And here we are.
Which we're very proud of. I can show you those. So this was our first carbon series, which is a carbon composite case. And it has the same features as the Marine series, so I'll address the features when we jump over here.
May I?
Absolutely.
I like the orange highlight on the...
So in this series we had, of course, a blackout. Everybody loves blackout, always a #1 seller. But we chose a few colors that we thought were good contrast with the black, where the accent is on the crown and around the edge of the dial. And then that watch can be had as you see it with a matching strap, or it can be had with a black strap. And so that this series is as it is. So you got blackout, you got black with red accent, black with blue, black with green, black with orange. So that's the Series 1000 carbon composite.
What is MSRP on this?
$450 retail.
And on any of these in this trade? Okay.
$450 suggested retail.
Very good.
And I'll explain why they are a value at that price when we jump over here.
Okay.
Okay, I'll move that aside. Also part of our launch collection, we wanted to have a steel dive watch. And that's what this is. So here we have a 316L stainless steel dive watch. And by the way, I'll mention some of the quality features that run through it. Every watch in the brand has sapphire crystals with anti-reflective coating. And I'll address some of the differences in water resistance and so on by series. This is a 200 meter dive watch. It's got an extremely tight 120 click bezel, as it should be. By the way, this dial should be white. This is a prototype, so excuse that. And then we did a titanium field watch, and in the field watch, it's actually unbelievable. It's 46 grams. It's so light.
This is titanium?
Yes.
Oh, beautiful.
and I'll show you the lume on this. So on this watch, the lume is multicolored. We always have a different color at 12 o'clock. You have to find top of dial to know time. So orange at 12, 369 in the brightest color green, and then the rest in ice blue. Both of